Okay, so let's first of all let's start to talk about the main topic of our discussion. Today's discussion we are talking about an e-commerce website called CellLab that is built on the account platform. So what happened is that when users sign up to the e-commerce platform,
no problem with the sign up and the invitation.
There is no problem with the invitation.
With the sign up, no problem. Now our work would invite the user.
Is it? Can I see it here or?
You already pulled you can pull the latest code from Angular.
But is it published online?
No, not published.
Okay, never mind. So what happened is that when the user sign up, they will fill up their username, email, and password, or they just fill in email.
No, for sign up, no problem. They can fill up username,
email and password.
Nothing, no problem.
Okay, after they fill in their username and password and email, they can use right away.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so they can use right away.
Yeah.
And email, will there be an email sent to them to ask them to click to confirm the email and verify the email?
We don't talk about this point.
Yeah.
Our point is about when we want to invite user to our platform.
Okay, I
so
see.
we send the invitation to user. What happened when we write the email and send invitation, an invitation received by his email, so he has to click for confirmation, verifying.
Okay, can I pause for a while? I have a question. The question is that when we send an email invitation, the person who invite the user, does he set the password for the user or he does not? He just fill in the email only.
Set the password. We set the password.
You set the password for the user?
Yes. We use just unified password and send it to all users the same. We set the password and we send the invitation to the user. The user has to click to the link to confirm. Then he will be added to account platform. Okay. The problem what is if the user want to log in later, he hasn't the password because we didn't send him the password in the email.
Okay.
Only confirmation without the password. So what he can do now, he can go to forgot password and do all this stuff. It will work.
I see what you mean. What you mean. Okay. So I understand the problem now. Let's start our discussion, okay? About first I want to draw one screen, one box. Okay, I want to draw one box. This box is actually the e-commerce website. Let's just say, for example, XYZ company. In our case, it could be CellLab, Samsung, or whatever. So there is another backend, which is usually the account.com, and this account.com, there will be is it called the CellLab user management or is it called
tenant management?
So it's called a tenant management.
Yeah.
So this tenant management applet will invite a user
to use our tenant.
Okay. I think this part alone, there may be some problem because when we invite a tenant user, the main objective is to invite a user to the account.com platform. But if we were to want to invite the user to the e-commerce website, maybe we need something more smoother for the user. For example, when I invite a user, maybe there needs to be an expiry date for the invitation.
Okay.
Maybe if the user has already activated their account, the link cannot be used a second time to activate again the user.
Okay.
Maybe let's just say, for example, the invitation has been sent. If you go to the YouTube, let's say, for example, I just show you an example. I go to YouTube, okay. I go to the channel. Let's say setting, okay. I go to add remove manager. Let's say I manage the permission. I may have invited somebody, but I invited them as what, but they have not accepted. Because when I invite somebody, sometimes there are many different type of invitation. So the invitation can be, I can invite you as a member of the tenant, or I can invite you as manager of something, but you may not have accepted it, or maybe you don't want it, or maybe you
It's
reject expired, or maybe there's an expiry date or something like that, which is features that we currently do not have. Agree?
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is that currently there are some missing feature and function. Okay. Of course, I understand that. I'm going to the database. Let's go to the database. Okay. So, if we are looking at the database, this is there anything being created in the database currently?
What do you mean?
Let's say when an invitation is being sent.
I didn't realize. By the way, for tenant management, I log in as, for example, as under DG. Under DG, I choose the tenant is DG, and I invite the user. What is happening? The user is added to the master, to the account.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And also, after he accept, added to the account and added to the tenant that he is invited in.
Yes.
There is no problem with that,
Yes.
and we don't want to change this thing.
Yeah, it's not changing.
What we need exactly, because just when we send invitation, he has to click link. Okay, he has to click link to confirm the invitation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But when he confirmed, it's okay, no problem. But he cannot log in because we didn't send password for him in the email.
I understand. So this is good point. Good point.
Yeah.
This is one point. So the first point that you mentioned is that what we need to do is that I'm just going to write at the bottom here. Number one is when
Send invitation.
Invitation send to user to join a tenant, the password
Not send.
not sent. Okay, so there are two ways we can solve this problem.
Yes.
The first way is that when user click on the link,
He only confirm.
okay, to verify, I would say to verify or confirm, to
Yeah.
verify or confirm
Joining.
the email, because this is a new user, because
Mhm.
sometimes when we verify the verification of the email address can be different, because it's possible in the account platform where a user add multiple email address, right? So currently the existing feature is limited in the sense that it only for verification.
Okay.
So what is missing and what is the team may be confused is that actually what we need to do is for the first time sign up.
They have fields to put password.
Yes,
That's
correct. The first time sign up.
Yeah.
So that I don't need to set the password for the user. What I do is that I just invite the user.
Yeah.
So when I for the first time sign up, I just invite the user. After I invite the user may or may not have an account.com user login or something like that.
Yes.
So what happened is that the system, in order for the system to be smart enough, you see, if we don't have the invitation table, that means that we need an invitation table. Okay. If we don't have this invitation table, the problem that we have is that every email that we add, maybe we just create the login subject, but this login
They
subject
use
maybe
response.
is no response
Yeah,
or
sure,
something like
sure.
that, right?
Yes, yes, I understand this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I understand this
Yeah.
thing.
So what I'm thinking,
Mm.
brainstorming with you,
Okay.
is that if we have a invitation table,
Mm.
what are the fields we need to store in the invitation table? This one is database design already.
Yeah.
So that means
We need
maybe there's an expiry date. I don't know.
expiry date we
Expiry
have,
date.
and the email we send the invitation.
Okay,
the
email for
expiry.
invitation.
And also maybe we have some rule for him to be maybe
Excellent,
user,
excellent, good point. The
manager.
rule, when you say the rule,
Yeah.
can you elaborate
Like
a little bit further?
manager or just member, just
Okay.
just something like that.
Okay, so rule to specify the roles
Yeah.
that he'll be joining.
Yeah.
And then what about, let's say for e-commerce website, if let's say when this user is invited by a Sell platform and they don't need to know about account.com,
Mm.
they don't need to know about that. They just want to click on the link, go to a certain web URL, certain tenant and a certain URL,
yes,
and then complete the process and all that stuff.
That's why for verification. After verification, redirect him to the tenant who invited him.
Yeah, but I also have a question. Now, I'm doing this analysis with you is because you are very fast in understanding. I know you can think very logically, but I just want to highlight a few points. Then I want to hear your opinion. So let's just say I have a master database here.
Mm.
Then I have many different tenants. So this is a Sell Lab, and I have different website here. This is a website URL because the invitation that is being sent is meant for a specific website only.
Yeah.
So when this invitation is sent, where should I store the information of this invitation? Should I, because when we are looking at this database schema, the same schema is being used in the tenant.
I understand.
Right? And also the same schema is being used in the master.
For me, for invitation supposed to send to be in the master, and also we have to have another field to specify which tenant send the invitation.
Excellent point. So that means that but it is also possible that the invitation is meant for the master.
No,
also possible.
He's tenant. He is tenant anyway.
Yeah,
the master is tenant.
Because when we do this, we want to make it reusable. That means that it's also possible that let's just say an invitation is sent out from the account.com alone.
Yeah.
Without all the other e-commerce website. I just invite you as a user.
Mm-hmm.
That means that I like you suggested, I also need to include the tenant information, tenant info, which tenant info, and also which website. Which how to say, which host name or something like that.
Which host name.
Which
and for me, it's supposed this information to be in master database. Why?
Which host name or URL. Okay, and then
suppose this data store in master in our account, in our master database. Why? The invitation. Because later, maybe we need to do some statistics to know which success platform that we have that have accepted invitation rate, all these things, so we can provide this statistics from our database.
Okay.
We can put it, so we need to put it on master, the invitation.
The master. So you are suggesting that this invitation, it should go into the master table.
Yeah.
It
will help us later a lot for our customer. So this site, the invitation response faster. Why this site you have to do something? We can have another business for this point. Okay. You understand what I mean?
I understand. So can I ask you one more question? Mm-hmm. That means that if a user so happen that he is invited to join, there's a multiple website here. So this multiple website here are not related to each other. One is Sell Lab, one is Thinking, but it's the same user. So that means that in the when they sign into the
We have this thing. Before we send invitation to user, we check if we have this user or not before. So if we have it before and we have to check, now we need him to which tenant. So if to the same tenant, we will just show him he is existing. But for the other tenant, as backend, we know it is already in the master database, but we will also provide a message that it's already added to your tenant.
Okay, I have one more question. Now, if I have a user here, so this user, maybe in Sengheng tenant, he's the owner administrator. Maybe in the cell lab tenant, he is only in visitor.
Okay, so for this.
So and also and also that means that when you send the invite, there is a possibility.
The key will be many things.
Yeah, and maybe because in the cell lab tenant, the way they create the team and the role and the permission may be different. And this information should be in the tenant, which we don't want to copy it into the master tenant.
Okay.
Because in the master tenant, I cannot do a foreign key pointing to the team table in another different database. You see my point?
Yeah, I see your point.
So that means that maybe I don't know, I don't have an answer, but maybe yes, we need to have an invitation at the master table, but at the same time, we also need to have the foreign key pointing to the, that means that it is also making use of the invitation table, but this invitation table is in the tenant database. That means that each of the invitation, there could be possibility that we need to create one entry in the master database table, another row inside the tenant database table, because inside the tenant database table, it could be pointing to a group or a branch, or join a supplier account or something like that.
But okay, I understand this point and I agree with you. But we have to do some enhancement for the schema of master database. That if we need to update the master database with some information.
Yes, some information, but we don't know what information at the moment, but we just need to know that some, because in the master database table, there's also an invitation going on. Then at the same time, we also need to solve one problem. That is, what if when the tenant database invitation is accepted, we need to update the master. And when the master is accepted, you need to know which tenant, because if you have 1,000 tenants, you cannot go to 1,000 tenants and try to search.
Sure.
Right. So that means that it needs to be a linking. I'm just thinking to simplify things. I'm not sure whether this makes sense, because in the master database table currently for the user login table, user login subject or something like that, we are using the same GUID in the master as per the tenant for simplicity.
Yeah, I noticed that.
You noticed that?
Yeah.
So, but of course not all the information in the master database are copied in the tenant, and of course in the tenant database they may have certain attribute that are we don't store in the master. So I'm just asking a question, whether it is better for us to actually send and to make use of the same GUID, or we should make use of a different GUID. Never mind. I'll record this video, and these are the things that you can play back, and then at night maybe you think about it, because I'm not just giving you instruction to do A, B, C, D, E, but I really need your creativity on the problem solving. So another questions that I want to ask you is that if you look at the Google Calendar, or even if you look at the Google Drive, it is actually possible for you to invite a group.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you can invite a group, or you can invite a team.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the database here, what happened is that here we have a login subject. Okay, so each of these login subjects are actually tied to multiple groups here, and each of these login subjects are also tied to multiple rows. Okay, let's just say we don't go to the row, just the user and the group. That will be complex enough.
But the Google Groups is public for this.
We also have public group because the public groups are actually in the master database table.
I know.
Yeah, because this same database table, when it is actually in the master, we are calling it a group. But when this very same table, when it is being used in the tenant, we call it a team to avoid confusion to the programmer when they are doing the coding. So my question is, let's just say in the Google Calendar, let's say I create an event, I can actually invite a group, then it will actually pull these things. That means that this involves some SQL query like union, pretty much like similar to the way that you specify the permission link table. In this permission link table, this link table, you can actually have a assignee type, whether it is by role or by group or by individual.
It's the header table. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
This one, when you specify the invitation.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that when we create this invitation table, this is the one, the invitation table. Okay.
This invitation doesn't exist now or exist?
It does not exist.
Okay.
It does not exist. You see, the difficult part is actually figuring out the logic. Once we have designed the logic, if I just tell time or whoever, you just give me a CRUD, create, update, delete endpoint for this, and how I use it, you just allow me to code, that's easy already. So the difficult part is actually the logic thinking. So what I'm thinking, the design is that if we have this invitation table, just now we are talking about email notification and invitation here. So instead of email invitation and whatever, that means that maybe this invitation table is not just one table. Maybe I have let's say for example I have
actually it is a small project itself.
It's not that big lah, but it's okay lah. It's just actually it's like this. If when we ask the programmers to do things, if we figure out all the logic already, and then we just ask them to build that, is very fast. But if we ask them to figure out themselves and then slowly do one part by the next part, then only they realize the problem, then it will take a few months just to do something like that. So what I need to do with you is that I need to discuss, let's say for example, if I were to tell the programmer, I need, let's say this is BL app. What's our naming convention? Naming convention is APP. This is app application related. So if I have an app underscore, let's say invitation underscore header table.
Master or header.
Okay, then I have an app invitation
line.
I have an app
invitation
extension to store any extra parameter. Extension. Extension ext invitation extension.
You want event also?
Actually, that will be so powerful. Yeah, so I have an
app. You can trace the process of
app invitation event. So that what happened next
we can have the own information.
Yeah. Then with that, you can basically do once, and you can meet any requirements
of any project.
Any projects.
Okay.
One time.
But now the big question: where to store this master or tenant?
Yeah. So good questions. I don't have an answer, but I'm just brainstorming with you to see if we store in the master, like you said, okay, it's good, so that when the user log in immediately, we can tell them how many.
It could be very heavy also. I'm not. No, it's on master. It can.
Actually, if okay, to simplify things, if we have so many tables already, in the master side, it is possible that we actually can store which group in a tenant or something like that in these tables.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to know, for if we store it in tenant, we have some powerful, because in the future maybe we have account groups, that things it's related to the master actually. We have this power, but we need to study what is the feature if it is under the tenant itself, not under the master, and make balance.
Yeah.
And maybe later we will.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Let's say we store in the master database, and if I'm a tenant user, I'm a seller. Maybe I'm not authorized to access the master database because I'm just a tenant. I'm just a normal user with a tenant, and I want a report to see a list of invitations that I have sent out.
But you said we have access keys and we have something features we can do it in master permissions.
Yeah.
We can give some access to API or some access to specific things. We have these things.
Yeah, yeah.
It should be not a problem. Should be not a problem.
Okay.
And you know, it's like something we can give him access for specific things. That's the same thing that we are working for permissions.
Okay.
For example, the role owner want to grant permission only role owner and role admin. So it's something like that.
I understand what you're saying. I'm thinking
it would not be a problem, but we still need to figure out what is the benefit if we put it in master and what is the drawbacks, and same for tenant, and make balance. But for the two cases, if we choose here and here, we need linking way to store some information. For example, if we choose it in tenant, we need a linking way to store some important information in the master. And or if we choose to store it in the master, we need to linking table to the required information for the tenant.
Okay, let's do a devil's advocate. If all this data that invited by a website that is linked to a specific tenant, all go into the tenant, and when these tables are in the master database, here in the master database, then we will only store the account.com level invitation. That way there will be no confusion.
Okay. It's like
that means that when, if let's say the user right now, okay, the user this is the user, he will click and accept an invitation, because if this invitation is initiated for the tenant, and inside the invitation we already have things like the URL of the activation link that is specific to a certain invitation and blah blah blah. So in the email, when you click on the invitation link, it will send, they will be redirected to the URL that is so specific to the tenant, the website, the e-commerce.
This is not a problem. Even we choose to store it in master database, it's not a problem. You know why? Because when I send invitation from the tenant, for example, seller, I send two things. I send the DTO, and I also send the tenant code. So from tenant code, I can have other information.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
So if from this tenant code, I can know which table, which URL, which all the details, I can know it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because later there's something else that we need to do also. Let's say, for example, if an invitation has been sent to somebody, but sometimes they forget to click. So we need to actually trigger reminder. And
that's
then
why we need events.
Yeah.
The events, It will help us to this is sent, then reminder, after that cancelled or response. That's why we need the events for the invitation. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Actually, most of the tables are pretty much the same as the other events table. All we need to do is actually, if we have a column for the property _JSON or something like that, in the JSON column you can pretty much store anything you want already. But we just need to have
your preferred field, the JSON.
The JSON you can store anything you want, but we just need to have maybe in the invitation field, don't forget that we need to have an app ID. Sorry, this is we need to have an app ID. And then we need to have because maybe certain invitation are initiated by certain applet or certain developer.
Yeah, I am thinking about the same point.
So if let's say you are a programmer in your invitation, hey, I'm not supposed to mess around with your data. I mess with my own invitation, my application or something like that is fine. You know.
So the applet is a child from the tenant, and the tenant is a child from the master. See how many relations?
Yeah.
You said the invitation is from specific applet or from the tenant. That means or from the master. So we have levels of invitation.
Yeah.
So for if it is from applet or from the tenant, there is not so much different, but the difference from master to tenant. This is the difference.
My only question is that when you are inside a tenant, just now, yes, I know that theoretically I can send invitation to anybody, but the thing is that some of the customers, they may want to have privacy. That means that I may invite somebody to view some files, and this is something related to my tenant. I don't want it to put in the master database table.
But master database is very important. To send information for it. Why? Because as you said, maybe I want to invite this user. I don't know any information about the other tenants. So when I send invitation to that user, he is already an account but under another tenant.
Yeah.
So for me as the one who handle with this tenant, I don't need to know. I don't need to know that this user is already existed in the master database and in other tenant. No need for that. Just I will inform him, okay, and I will add it for you. So in the master database we can maintain the user who exists in which tenant. So we need to store information in master. We cannot escape that, because if we just store it in tenant, how other tenants can know?
The other tenants wouldn't know.
Cannot know.
They should not know anyway. If
It's not for the other tenants, for the master.
Yeah, the master would not know. If let's say we store in the tenant database, the master wouldn't know.
But we need the master to know. For us, we need the master to know.
Why you need the master to know?
For statistics later.
No, not statistics. Let's say statistics we can do whatever. Let's say it's not a requirement to do statistics. Is there something that will force us to must use the master database? For example, if a user has been invited by a tenant and then he clicked the accept, the hyperlink need to bring him to a certain website that set his password. So
but okay, it's good that we will send the user to specific tenant, but also we need them to know the account platform.
Not necessarily, because when we develop this platform, we want to make it such that even the email that is sent to the user can be white labeled by the tenant. That means
I have this field.
Yeah,
now.
so
I know this one.
Yeah, so they can
change,
do the customization
everything,
without actually even knowing the existence of account.com is fine. is perfectly okay, because it's like somebody use Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure. When they do a website, the user will not know whether the server is hosted on Google or Amazon or Azure. They don't need to know anyway. So when we do this account platform, we are trying to help businesses to make use of the cloud native, the powerful feature of the cloud, while maintaining their brand if they want, you know.
But whatever, if we choose to store it in tenant database, we need to update the master to tell him that user is in how many tenants. We need to know this information.
He doesn't need to. The
master.
seller or customer
Me,
or
the master.
the master
I need to follow that this user existing in many tenants. I need to know this information.
Why? Okay, you need to know, yes. There will be a table storing this.
Yeah.
There's a table storing this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually inside this. Where's the tenant? Host name. There's a tenant. Okay, so there is a tenant. So in this tenant, there is actually a link here. And this link is linking to permission assignee target link.
I think we have a link between subject and tenant, right?
Yeah, I think so. There's a link somewhere. Whether there's a
we need
yeah,
link
we need
between tenant
Okay.
and subject.
Yeah. Okay. I think there is this is a login subject to tenant.
Oh, it's here.
It's here, right? So actually we already have this link. So that means that this table will only created if the user accept it. That means that at the invitation phase, maybe we don't accept it. We don't grade this yet. Or should we grade this and set the status as invited?
And the linking, you already put the rule.
Huh?
The rule. You already, the rule of the user is already here. Because we said we want to invite user as a manager, as just a member. You have here something.
I may have it here, but
you mean another thing?
Yeah, because, by the way, very sharp of you to observe this, and this role could be the default role. I don't know, but you see, the thing is that maybe when this was initially designed, the database was initially designed, we did not actually have this permission link table. So when we don't have this permission link table, we actually
why we need the information in master database?
Right.
Because some user can own many tenants, and we need he need many shared information from all his tenants.
Okay.
So we need something in master database.
Okay. Okay. So
we have to think about all these parameters.
Yeah, because at the same time, I also need to think about permission. Let's say, for example, I'm thinking that if somebody is in a Cell Lab or XYZ company tenant, and he's a user that manages the invitation of the customers. So when we make the API, we need to restrict the permission of this user to be able to query the invitation sent to a specific user, if and only if he or she has the permission.
Yeah.
Right? So, and this permission could be set at the tenant level. And this permission maybe is not set at the master level.
I know.
Yeah. So what I was thinking is that how do we actually make sure that the permission of this user at the tenant level is constrained within the tenant, but the data is stored in the master. But I don't. If he doesn't have the permission, he should not access the data in the master database table. That's my question on the permission side. Alright. because most of the tenant level permissions are assigned at the tenant.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So maybe it will have to go back to the model whereby the master level will have a master will store a copy of this invitation, and this master level invitation maybe will store a simplified version.
Yeah,
But
that's one.
simplified version,
yeah.
but the detail of what
In the,
is in the tenant.
exactly, and that's why they have to use the same GUID. Simplify the work. Same GUID.
Either they use the same GUID, or actually maybe in the field here, we can always have we can. I mean, in this table here, we can always have a tenant GUID, tenant invitation GUID or something like that. Then here we have a master, or this is the global GUID or something like that. So
But
that
for security issues, it's better to have different. For security purpose, different GUID is more safe.
Yeah, different GUID. Yeah.
More safe. Yeah, we can have something like that. Yes.
Okay. So far we discussed it's quite complicated, right? So I think we split into two parts, and each part we allocate some hours to it. Let's say, for example, the design of the database. We let's say I go to the second page. What we can do is that the design of the data. Oops, there's a clear board. Okay, so number one thing that we need to do is
that table you said it's in the tenant, invitation master.
Number one is design of the database. So this one we estimate it to be, let's say, okay lah, I give it 4 hours. Okay, allocate. I think should be enough. Or you think it's more?
Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, if we need to add, we can add more.
Yeah.
Okay. So number two, what else do you think we should do? After we design the database table, we need to we have a system diagram. It means that or is it some block diagram or something like that?
Yeah.
So we need to draw some block diagram. Usually, I don't know, they call it what, swim lane or something like that. If something comes, then you go to here, then you go to here.
Water flow DFD.
Flow diagram.
Flow diagram.
Or is that
data flow diagram?
Okay.
DFD.
So data flow diagram or swim lane. So each one of these, let's say 4 hours. 4 hours. 4 hours. You think it's good?
Okay, design block. 3. But
you don't need to write notes.
No. Okay.
I have recorded video.
Yeah. I know. But for designing of the data, we have two considerations: the designing and how to be in master and how to be in tenant. It's not only designing the database.
Yeah.
It's not only designing.
Okay, what do we call that? That means it's because when we code, you are not the one coding. I'm not the one coding.
Yeah.
So of course we will ask the developer to watch this video. But how do we describe that? Is it what we call the class design? No, it's not the class design.
No.
It's
something higher than database design, like.
Do we need to actually draw a even ugly also never mind, even if it's like this ugly, right?
No.
But we draw some boxes, something that is very easy, right?
Okay.
Jamboard, you can type jamboard.google.com, you can start drawing something simple.
Okay.
Right? So you can draw your color or ugly, never mind, just some box. So what I'm saying is that
what I mean is before designing the database table, we need to decide the invitation where have to be, and if it is in tenant, what is needed by the master, and it's the same like that.
I think we, at the same time, I think it is good if we want to explain this clearly, we need to do a user journey, right? So sometimes with the user journey, as we explain the user journey, then we link the user journey to what is happening in the database at this point. Okay, when the user do this, this is the screen that they see, and what are the, that means that this user journey come with a technical elaboration, technical explanation.
Okay, in the beginning, let us design the database and put the same for duplication for the master and for the tenant.
Yeah.
Later, we will decide.
Yeah.
How it would be
Yeah,
the final.
I think we need at least 2 to 3 meetings. That means that
Yeah.
The first round, first iteration, we have some database design first. Then
Yeah.
after that, we sit together like now. Then we will draw the screen, ugly screen. This step, this step, this step. In this step, then we will flip to the database to explain. Okay, at this point, store this field here, store that here, or something like that.
Okay, this is better. Now
Right.
it is the same. Okay. Our other programmer is very important to watch the video and give feedback also.
Yes, actually, it's not just the programmer. What we discussed, right? Is like, even if people like Nabila and JL, I think
Yeah,
they
she
watch
is
it,
the one.
yeah.
Nabila gave me these comments
so,
actually.
So they will understand
Yeah,
our
yeah.
discussion.
Okay, this is for maybe you can consider it for core 2 maybe, but now we need a solution for the current one.
Okay.
So for the current one, what we will do, they just confirm and go to the account, but the user cannot log in because they haven't password.
Yeah.
So
you can currently call one if I believe that we already have a ready API. This ready API allows the time site to actually send out an email with the link. Hassan, I think Hassan has done it.
yeah.
So it will send out a link, because you can call the API from the Angular program.
We do the same thing. The same thing with Hassan. We do the same. But the problem, there is no password sent to the customer. And he is not logging to the account platform.
Okay, then in that case, the simple way of solving this is that we have a reset password screen in the Cell Lab e-commerce website. We create a page. The page could be, let's say, for example, HTTP.
You mean reset the password when first login?
Yeah, correct.
That's
so xyz.com, then
yeah,
slash
this is my suggestion to do.
reset password or something like that. Not reset password. Sorry. Reset password is used subsequently.
Yeah.
But I think we have a welcome or first time welcome. First time verification or something like that. We create a screen specially for this, so that the first time they go, they will get this email that is specific to this URL. So in this URL, we use the Angular to make the screen in such a way that it's
something similar to register in account. Something I think Omar can do something like that. Yeah. It's better. Yeah, it's better actually. And by Angular side, we can give some, what we say, flexibility to redirect to which tenant to go.
Okay. So that means in this, when you go to a URL, it's possible to inject. That means that in the URL there, it is possible for us to inject what? Inject the token.
Okay.
Or into the because when they are injecting the token, when you click on the hyperlink, it is almost like you have logged in. Because you can only reset the password if you have logged in.
Yeah. That's why they don't log in and don't know password. That's
correct.
the problem.
Yeah. So in this special first time thing, that we will give them we will embed the token to pass to this URL, so that this part of the Angular program can straight away present to them set a new password screen.
I have to check if the service provide the token or not, because if it's provide the token, it will be okay, no problem. So he will be like he is already logged in.
Yeah.
But if not, I'm not sure if it's
Yeah.
I will check now.
But
If
we
not,
have to be very careful also. If we are sending this token to here for them to reset, then upon they click submit reset, we need to actually log them out and then log them in again to change the token and invalidate the previous token.
I prefer just when they verify to send them to put their password like other system. Put password from the beginning and that's it. I prefer this one.
Okay, so in that case, to simplify things, okay, the user actually the person inviting the user should not set the password for the user. Why not we just let the system generate some random password and email it to the user? He will see the password when he open
the email.
The email.
This is another suggestion.
Yeah.
This is the another suggestion, but okay. Because other system is the same. They send password just password and they change it.
Yeah, but if we were to go back to the previous method, this is a different story. This is the quick and dirty solution. But if we are going back to this one, you need to understand that at this point, they need to go to the invitation page, and when they are at the invitation page,
you will identify the many things.
Many things. You need to also understand that the user do not have a login, but the endpoint that allow user to query this invitation page may be exposed to the outside world. So this invitation database need to be secured. That means it needs to be secured, but at the same time it needs to allow public to access. So that means that the endpoint that we allow the querying of we cannot allow them to list. We can only allow them to get, and we only allow them to get if the GUID correct.
Okay.
That means that
it's already secured.
It's already secure. If you want somebody to query and get GUID
for all invitation, he can confirm and have all the accounts.
Correct,
Cannot be like that.
So the security part we need to also pay attention here.
Okay, so for the first solution now, because still I want to use, we will after send the email. I prefer to get maybe Omar do the screen for new password, just login in, and that's it. It's better.
So I think we can stop recording.
Yes.
So this discussion I think is very useful. I think the other programmers, not only they need to know the answer, but they actually need to know the thought process, how we come to the answer, why we need to do certain things.
Sure.
Right? Okay. Thank you very much. Where's the stop?